Today I'm going to be reviewing episode 7 of Parasyte, The Dark Knight's Passing. The episode starts off with Izumi fucking leaping like a frog over some dude's head. I knew straight away once we saw the mugshot of this new character that he wasn't a typical kind of parasite, as he didn't look as if he had a stroke. This guy looked as if Izumi shit in his cereal. Then you saw his chin transform essentially into Gary Busey. Uda, this new character, then explains the situation, how the parasite infected his neck. Uda lost everything, the poor guy. He lost his wife, and he was just about to end his life just on the edge of the cliff, but he was too afraid to kill himself. Then all of a sudden, this parasite spawns from what looks like a conch shell, flops out like a penis, and then goes straight for his neck. Obviously, in the pure panic of the situation, Uda grabs his neck and accidentally falls backwards, and obviously he was right near the edge of the cliff just before he was about to commit suicide, so he fell into the water, became unconscious, and the parasite made a very rash decision. Instead of trying to take his brain and try and keep him alive, so he turned his mouth into a huge snorkel and allowed him to breathe underwater. But it's really unlucky, really. It's on his neck of all places, and the fact that he looks like he's fucking Popeye now every time he wants to appear is just so messed up. I'm really excited to see that there are parasites which are very similar to Izumi and Migi, and I'm hoping for the love of God that there are more characters like this. Uda looks like a genuine guy, looks like he's really harmless, but what if there was a parasite what infected somebody who's a complete dickhead? They could be evil. I'm really looking, I hope something like that happens. This is me just speculating at the moment. Now that we established that Uda is a nice guy and that we're on the same team with Izumi, which is awesome news. But now to something really important, I believe. Migi wakes up Izumi in the middle of the night to finally explain to him the situation of why he's such a fucking Olympian right now. And the thing that made me laugh here, right, is that Izumi said that, I don't know, has all changed? 2 minutes, I'm just lift up this fucking building. Sorry, I just thought it was normal. Izumi's a cunt. Migi is now able to clone himself into multiple Migis, and the more times he clones himself, the dumber they become, and the smaller they become. But what Migi did is that he managed to shrink himself down to such a level to try and repair Shinichi's body from his encounter with his mum, that he's got little Migis all over his body because he can no longer call them back to himself to rejoin. Only 70% of himself is now his hand. I think the rest is in his heart. So the rest is in his chest and the other one's in his hand. But when Migi told him this information, it's quite interesting. He didn't look as shocked as I originally thought he would have been. Like, if you look back in like the first 2 episodes, it was like panicking, having asthma attacks, losing his shit. But now he's really calm and collected. Izumi is losing his emotion. I've never noticed this, but the scene where Uda was crying really rampantly, Izumi was like fucking dead face. He had a pure poker face. When his mother died, he explained in the situation that he didn't feel anything. He had like a hole in his heart. And now I think he's starting to realise that he's becoming more parasite than he is human. Even his expression's starting to die off. Mate, Maki fucking riles me up. She just said to him, she had the cheek, this bitch. She says, "You don't tell me anything." Well, no, you psychotic son of a bitch. We met on a boat previously for probably like fucking 5 minutes, and then you want me to tell me fucking life story? Get out of my head and fuck off. I know you wanted the D, but you're not getting it. Back off. God, I'll just chop her up there. She does my fucking head in. Uda has now just phoned Izumi and let him know that there's a parasite within range about 100 meters away. Uda, being a bit silly in his head, kind of stays around thinking, oh, maybe he'll be alright, you know, it might be just like him. No, it's his mother, the fucking pissing parasite bandit. Izumi informs him he needs to get away from her as much as possible and will regroup. All of a sudden, Izumi runs faster than the fucking car, full pelt, and Bloke's like, what the fuck? Whilst Izumi was trying to get to Uda and make sure he was alright, Migi decides to fall asleep. Obviously, because now that his body's completely different than it was before, he needs to sleep for a lot longer. But before he does that, he transforms into a blade in order for Izumi to use him later on, which I know exactly why they've done this. They wanted us to know that Izumi's changed. He doesn't need to rely on Migi as much now. My god, the entire fight scene between Izumi's mum and Uda is full on intense. Even the music's really well implemented. My heart was pumping. I was like, fuck, this is awesome. This is what an anime should be about. If you actually analyse the scene, Just before Uda's heart gets penetrated, you can see that the parasite actually purposely let them attack there, knowing that Izumi's mum would back off once him saw him on the ground looking like he's dying. Then lo and behold, Izumi steps up with his massive fucking blade hand. Normally in anime they'd be like, oh my god, that's my mother, I can't do this to her. But he's like, nah mate, you're a bitch, going down, I'm taking your hell. We've now learned that Izumi not only can see quicker, he's faster, he can jump higher. The guy's like fucking the evolution of man. It's really cool. Izumi saw Uda on the floor just below the mountainside. Looks like he's dying, so he's like, shit, I need to save him as much as possible. Just before he lays in the fatal blow, he sees the scar on his mum's hand from what he did as a kid, and then he kind of backs off and then he gets attacked. I think that's really kind of cool because it shows that he's still human. He still has that caring side in him, and he really didn't want to hurt his mother. And then our boy Uda steps up and fucking snips her up. When I first saw this character, I thought like, it's going to be an alright character. But now he's like, yeah, redeemed in respect. This guy is awesome. Uda is here to stay. I hope he stays around because I really like this guy. And he did a really nice thing. He killed his mother for him so he wouldn't have to, even though it wasn't his mother. Turns out Uda's parasite moved his organs around because he predicted where they would attack. So obviously when he let him attack earlier, that was why, because he wanted to think he was dead. Anyway, moving on, Izumi has now said goodbye to the Mako bitch because she does my fucking head in. So once the fight's over, Izumi talks to his dad and then kind of reaffirms things, make sure he's okay and everything like that. But again, something very interesting happens. Izumi falls asleep, just like Migi, implying that he's becoming more like a parasite. That's kind of scary at the same time. That means that maybe Shinichi, for whatever reason, may just pass out because he's exhausted. And what the fuck is this about? All of a sudden, Migi goes back to his hometown, and what is this? Can Vash sense him now? These two girls all of a sudden go, Izumi? Izumi? I'm not even sure if they can even see him, but it may be something to do with the parasite, I'm not quite sure. But that quite confused me a little bit. It implies to me that women have some sort of power. Lo and behold, Izumi's rocking a new fucking do, and he looks pimp as shit. And just after the credits, if you look at this, there's two interesting things I want to point out. One is the fact it looks like he's going to get his vengeance back on the people who kicked the shit out of him before. And it kind of lays emphasis on a woman. But yeah, that was a really fucking awesome episode. Anyway, guys and girls, if you like what you saw here today, please hit the subscribe button and check out my previous video or the next week's video when in the future. Whoa. Yeah, that's a bit weird. But give me a like and leave some comments below if you disagree or agree with me. That'd be awesome.